All right, I want to thank you guys. Welcome to Code Enforcement 101. So I had a little bit of housekeeping. So again, we got the drinks and we got sign-in sheet, handouts on this table here. If we run out, make plenty more copies. Restrooms are out here. Go through this double door, the next double door, and they're off to your left. So we do want this is going to be information about code enforcement, what we do, and kind of what our main focuses are on the properties. So we want to try to keep it as much as what code enforcement does for the city versus actually direct complaints at this time. So if you have direct complaints or concerns, please feel free to grab our cards, or after the program, feel free to contact either Jolene or myself. And so that way we can resolve those issues. Good?
I think so.
All right, I'll turn it over to Jolene.
The purpose of code enforcement is to preserve high quality of life throughout community through health and safety standards, and to ensure compliance with the municipal codes by providing effective public contact and education, building partnerships throughout our community, and enforcing the regulations in an equitable and impartial manner. A total of 1,473 notices of violation were issued in 2017, with a compliance rate of 99%. The four most common violations are weeds, which was 51%, littering, junkyards, and inoperable vehicles. The two most common zones that we have with violations is the residential 1 with 38% violations, and the residential 2 with also 38 violations, 38%. Residential zone 1, it's usually a regular residential zone, or regular household. It's not like an apartment complex or commercial building. It's a higher density of residential. So this right here is our 2017 hot map. These were for all the violations that we had for the whole year. And this is what we have so far for 2018, which is just through today. So we do try to get all over. So we have a quarter-mile focus area that we focus on, especially during weed season, around schools and parks. I realize this map is a little small, so we also have the printout here, if anybody would like to look at that. Our main code enforcement task: weeds, litter, junkyards, inoperable vehicles, mobile home parks, signs, and RVs used as dwellings, and livestock. Now we'll kind of go into more detail on some of the actual notices that we deal with. So weeds, it's anything in excess of 8 inches, and all weeds on the property must be cut all the way to the curb or edge of pavement and to the center of the alley and disposed of properly. And all these pictures that you see, these are actually violations we found here in Canyon City as of this year and part of last year.
So they keep their weeds 8 inches low.
Well, we don't set the actual mandates on that. That was done through City Council years ago. City Council, it was part of the amendments. That's what's in the ordinance currently, is the 8 inches. So that's what we go off of. Littering, that's another big one we deal with, which is any private property at all times. It has to maintain the premises free of litter, trash, garbage, and refuse. So that'd be furniture, limbs, that kind of stuff. Here's some examples. We deal with tires quite a bit. People having furniture outside. Junkyards, we deal with quite a few of these too. It is unlawful to establish or maintain a junkyard within any zone district in the city, and it's the intent and purpose to discourage conditions affecting the health, safety, and general welfare to the citizens of the city. An inoperable vehicle is a motor vehicle not located inside a garage or other building and should be placed in an effectively screened outdoor storage area in the rear or side yard of such private property. Inoperable vehicle examples. This first one here, it doesn't have a license plate at all. And the second one here, it doesn't have current tags. These tags actually expired in 14. And then also has the flat tire here.
So that's what you classify as inoperable,
It's one of the many things that could make it inoperable.
even though the car may run, may be able to be moved, you just
If it's not legally street operable, then it's considered an inoperable vehicle, which neither one of these would be allowed legally on the street.
ran.
And then, of course, extensively damaged. Windows broken out, flat tires, missing the motor or transmission, any kind of extensive damage. So no recreation vehicle may be used for dwelling or sleeping purposes except for short periods of time, and such as during the visits of friends or relatives. And in that case, it shall not be used for longer than 2 weeks, and only when proper health and safety precautions are taken. As this one, as you can tell, it looks like they've set up camp for quite a while. They got the clothesline and the grill and everything out there. Livestock, this is another big one we deal with. All manure, bedding, spillage, and leftovers from feeding shall be removed and disposed of to prevent fly and rodent and odor at least weekly. And then no roosters are permitted over the age of 6 months. Most of our livestock calls this time of year are roosters, and then the summertime it tends to be the manure calls that we get complaints about. So here's the general violation process. I don't know if everybody got the handouts we had over there. It kind of has a little more detail. So the general violation process is a violation, code enforcement, either an observation or a citizen complaint. Code enforcement investigates a complaint and gathers information such as pictures, statements. If a violation is found, a notice of violation is mailed to the property owner, including the compliance date. It's usually between 7 to 10 days. Code enforcement rechecks the property after the compliance date noted on the violation. If the property is in compliance, case is closed. If not in compliance, code enforcement may extend compliance date if progress has been made or if the owner asks for an extension. And then if there's no compliance, any or all of the following steps can be used: an administrative fine, civil action, which is court order for a violation to be evaded, and criminal action, which is conviction through the municipal court proceedings. The next several slides are a lot of before and after pictures. All these we got voluntary compliance by working with the owners on. As you see, this one was a pretty bad one. What was it, on a quarter acre?
Yeah, something like that.
And the whole yard was filled. So we do have a vacant abandoned property list. Since we compiled this list starting in 2016, a total of 24 houses have been renovated or demolished, and there are currently only 29 properties on the list, with 4 currently under a contract for new ownership. And we try to put this list out to try to prevent squatters, blighted properties. We have quite a few cleanup groups that have contacted us within the past couple of months. These are groups that want to do a lot of community involvement. The YES program is a youth empowerment services. It's a year-round program, and they've asked us to reach out for people who are needing assistance in getting their properties cleaned up. The Random Acts of Kindness, that's through the First Southern Baptist Church. It'll only be in June on Sundays, and they'll help folks mow weeds that need help with that. And then Keller Williams, they're going to help at least 1 or 2 residents, either with painting a house, small home remodels, and hauling off any litter they might have on the property. We have the Keep Canyon Clean program. This is something the city has initiated starting last year. And code enforcement itself, we started a fall cleanup program, and it ran from November 14th until December 23rd. and it consisted of vouchers for the disposal of tires and TVs. A total of 100 tire vouchers were distributed, with 56 vouchers being redeemed, and a total of 185 tires were recycled with Canyon City Tire. And a total of 50 TV vouchers were distributed, with 34 vouchers being redeemed with Twin Enviro. And this program we're planning on running again this year. So this is part of the Keep Canyon Clean team. What we're hoping to do, it would consist of recruiting 5 to 6 volunteers who would patrol assigned neighborhoods within Canyon City. The program would run from May to August, and volunteers would be scheduled to make their inspection tours on weekdays between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. Each volunteer would be required to wear a Keep Canyon City team safety vest while on patrol, and they'd leave a courtesy door hanger at a residence concerning the violation found, but they would not be issuing any actual notice of violations. The 3 key violations the volunteers would be trained to look for would be weeds, litter, and inoperable vehicles, which are the 3 most common violations found citywide.
So, I don't have questions. I do have some comments. Number one, I want you to know that I've been cited twice for a violation of the code, and I have no argument with that. My property is well maintained. I have a farm. I don't have just a home. I have a farm, and I'm proud of the way it looks. However, there's an old house on the property that a fella has lived in for 12 to 13 years. He pays no rent, never has, but he intends to collect stuff. And so I've been cited twice because I own the property. But he's the one that collects the junk, and he cleans it up once we get cited, and he goes after it. So I don't have any argument with you coming down and citing.
So I think most people are concerned that you're going to have a nosy neighbor, and that if you have something wrong with your property in your backyard, that your neighbor is going to become part of the Keep Canyon Clean team, and they're just going to be narking, is what I've been seeing some comments and stuff like that. Like, oh, nosy neighbor, they're just a narc. So we have a plan in place that certain areas, these priority areas, are going to be the main focus. And the volunteers so they won't be assigned to the neighborhood that they live in. That way there's none of this bias of being, the neighbor feud, that my neighbor is out to get me. We don't want any of that ever come back, that the city is trying to have their neighbors have any issues, and we want to avoid any of that. So they would be assigned a certain geographical area that is outside of the perimeter. That way, we hopefully never have to worry about that.
Getting back to the issue at hand, I noticed on the screen when you had the violations that you had on the mobile home parks, you had skirting issues. What does that refer to?
Well, with mobile home parks, that's kind of a different thing. We didn't put it on here because they're required to get a permit from us before they move a mobile home in to make sure it meets setbacks, and that they get all the certification they need from the state for plumbing and electrical. And we also make sure they have proper skirting on them that's going to be water resistant. So we didn't go into detail on that because that's something.
I'm talking about the new mobile homes, I'm talking about the existing ones that are 5, 6 years old.
Okay, so the existing mobile homes?
They have skirting issues, they removed the skirting and left it there for
Well, depending on the zoning, if it's an MH1, which is a mobile home park, which is manager-owned, they would be required to put that back on. We'd contact the property owner or the park manager, which we were doing a lot of that starting in October all the way through December on getting hold of these property or park managers and working on that. If it's in a regular residential zone, there's a few of those where there's a mobile home in those, which when it goes into, it's not an actual mobile home park, we can't regulate that skirting. It's part of the conditions for the licensing for a mobile home park.
I just want to know if alleyways, do they go up alleys and look at the backs of houses too to see how they're keeping it?
The volunteers will not be. As
just-
code enforcement, we do at times, a lot of times when we get a complaint, it's the whole alley. It's not just one alley, is what we hear from people. So the volunteers will not be going in alleys, will not be going in easements, will not be looking over fences. It's just from the front road and the sidewalk.
Okay.
But as code enforcement, it's from any public right-of-way we can patrol.
So they can clean up their front yards, but they can have their backyards looking like junkyards?
Well, if it's junkyard, that's going to go to code enforcement, not
Well, I mean,
a
like,
volunteer.
just stuff stacked.
The
and
problem
cars
is
left and-
if they have a privacy fence that's over 6 foot tall, we have to be able to see it from ground level.
Okay.
So we're not allowed to look over fences.
Code enforcement, we have to follow the same Fourth Amendment rights, the search and seizure. So we can't go on to anyone's property, and we have the right to go attempt to make contact, so we'll go to the front door. So, and there's plain view stuff. But if you had a junkyard in the back, and if we can't see it, but someone complains about it, and they have a privacy fence, we can't look over their privacy fence. We have to follow all the same laws that as law enforcement does when it comes to search and seizure.
So if we had enough evidence, we would possibly have to get a search warrant to go on that property to see the extent of it.
Well, I don't want to say this. Residential areas that's having businesses run out of their home with construction equipment.
Okay, so you're talking
And-
about home occupations?
Right. And I made a complaint a few times on one on Florence and over a number of years, and that guy is still operating a business with construction material and
Why don't you get with us
junk.
afterwards, because I think I know which one you're talking about.
Okay.
And if it is, it's already an open case and we're in the process of it. So
Okay.
get with us afterwards.
the other thing is that why don't we publicize these people that are having trouble cleaning their yards up in the Daily Record so we can put some shame to them?
Well, we're
I
not
would-
wanting to necessarily shame people. That's not really our
Well,
job. Our job
If
is
you
to
look at
get,
their property, yes, it is a shame for Canyon City to have these
but
type
some
of
people may have
individuals.
extenuating circumstances, may have medical issues, may financially not be able to do it. Lawnmower may have broke down, you know, that
That's-
kind of
that's-
stuff. So
That's true.
we don't want to go that far. And that's why we have some of these groups that we can help out those kind of folks.
Okay. There's a number of houses going up towards Harrison School on the left-hand side of the street. I don't know if they're owners of them homes up there, but the weeds and the trash around them things have been there for years. And it just don't seem like code enforcement's doing anything about getting some of these places cleaned up, in my opinion.
Well, come talk with us afterwards and point out the area, because sometimes we get complaints and it's
Okay.
county, city kind of thing. There's some different boundaries sometimes.
Oop, sorry, he had it first, and then I'll give it back to you, sir, George. Should be on. I think you just have to speak.
Yeah, commenting on some of these things, I went to breakfast with the mayor, or coffee with the mayor several times. And some of these issues he's addressed. And if you go there, he'll tell you, they can't do certain things. The deer issue, they've tried to do bow hunting legalized in the city limits. Well, the deal is some little old lady's going to see you shoot that deer, and she's going to be awful upset. What are you going to do then? What if somebody misses? You just and there are cities in Colorado I know that the city cleans up if you don't, and then they bill you. And Preston told me that I have a property close to my home that the individual passed on. He did keep the weeds mowed down, but no will, no relatives, no one knows who finances it. What's going to happen this summer? Preston told me, call the city, we'll clean it, and we'll lien the property. And that's an option.
If you know that it's a vacant house, let us know too, because it isn't normally till the weed season that we actually know that it's going to be vacant when we start getting our letters back that it's undeliverable.
All right, well, thank you, everybody, for coming. If you think of any questions later, just give Josh or I a call or shoot us an email.